I had to
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is April Price. I am the program manager for the Single Family Home Energy Savings Program from 3C-REN. And really, really excited to share the next 45 minutes with you as we go over the relaunch of our Single Family Home Energy Savings Program. Mostly this morning, you're going to be hearing from Reed from Recurve, who many of you already know as they are the implementer for our program. But just to get us started, Reed, you can go to the next slide. Here is our agenda. Again, Reed is going to be going over all of the details associated with our relaunch. Also wanted to just plug something that's happening next week. Reed will mention it too, but we are hosting some breakfast and lunch events next week to go over the entire incentive landscape. So not just our incentives, but state, other local, regional incentives that can, in most cases, be stacked together to provide really deep discounts and in some cases free upgrades for your customers. Next slide, please. Tri-County Regional Energy Network, or 3C-REN, is a collaboration between the three neighboring counties. I worked for the County of Santa Barbara in my role. And together we were able to access ratepayer dollars from the California Public Utilities Commission and provide programs to support energy efficiency in our region. Okay, and with that, Reed, go ahead and
Great.
take it away.
Thank you. So we're going to start today by talking about some of the important updates coming to the single family program for 2025. Most of you will have received an email last week detailing these changes. We're just going to talk about a little bit more here. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll also save some time at the end if there are any questions then as well. So some of the key changes. First is going to be master metered homes. These are no longer going to be eligible for enrollment in the program. This is mainly going to impact mobile homes because a lot of mobile homes and manufactured homes are going to be on a master meter. The reason for this change is that we had a lot of difficulty measuring performance for these projects, and we want to measure as much performance in this program as possible. Mobile homes that do have their own individual meter or manufactured homes on their own individual meter will be eligible for the program. So just want to be clear on that. It's just homes that are on master meters. The master meter, if you're not familiar, is a meter that covers, say, 5 or 6 different units or homes on one meter. Number 2, the customer upfront payments. So as you know, we require that 50% of the total incentive reserved for the aggregator is passed along to the customer. In the past, we weren't super stringent on how this money was passed along to the customer, only that it was passed along to the customer. Moving forward for 2025, this must be passed along as a discount to the customer at the time of invoice. We, of course, pay you for that upfront incentive within a month of you submitting final project completion work. So you are getting those funds, but we just require that those funds aren't passed along to the customer at a later date, that they are provided as a discount at the time of project completion. And then number 3 and 4 are pretty much similar bucket. We are, as you know, last year we did do some incentive buckets. So we had a bucket of incentives for hard to reach and equity projects, and a bucket for market rate projects. So for this year, we're adding just a few more breakdowns to that budget. So 70% of the total incentive budget for 2025 is going to be allocated to Santa Barbara and SLO. And so they're going to be one bucket. And then 30% of the budget will be allocated for Ventura. And I'll show you on the next slide how that breaks down a little bit more. But just to clarify, 70% will be for SLO in Santa Barbara, 30% will be for Ventura. And then within those 2 counties, you're going to have a breakdown of 75% of the incentive budget for Ventura, for example, will be allocated for hard to reach and priority Ventura County customers, with 25% being allocated for market rate projects. Likewise, in Santa Barbara and SLO, 75% of the incentive budget will be allocated for hard-to-reach projects, 25% being allocated for market rate. Now, on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit more about those incentives. The total budget that we are opening the market next week with is $2.7 million. I want to clarify that once the 2024 program year comes to a conclusion on December 31st, any unused funds will roll over into this budget. So that is to say that we do expect, additional funds to come in on January 1st. So that total budget number, expect to see that increase in the new year. The multipliers are going to be the same. So as you know, we offer incentive multipliers. So market rate projects will be a 2x multiplier. Hard to reach will be a 5x multiplier. And then we also have a breakdown of that total budget here by county, by equity allocation, so 75%, and then 25% for market rate projects. Just pause there real quickly. Before we move on, just one other thing to note is that, sorry, not to note, just to re-clarify that, yeah, again, these budget numbers are expected to increase when the 2024 program year comes to a conclusion at the end of this month. Next slide. We just want to provide a quick reminder of how things work. So this shouldn't come as much of a surprise to most folks on this call. But just to reiterate how the program works is an aggregator submits a scope of work and customer utility account numbers. We check those numbers on our platform. You are then able to estimate your incentive on our platform. And then if everything looks good, you receive approval to proceed in the reservation of those incentives. You then go and install the project. And then after you install the project, you submit for final paperwork, submit for final project submission. So final invoice, all the necessary paperwork, and then a signed customer pre-approval letter. That's all the same this year. And then after that, you receive your upfront incentive, and then your project moves into tracking and payments. I'm going to pause there real quick because I see there are a few questions in the chat. So I just want to take time to, oh, nope, just April posting links. So sorry, Mike Little asked that he's in Ventura County and was wondering if the state map for economic disadvantage communities has been updated. So just to answer that real quick, I'm not sure if it's changed since the program was last closed, but we will provide that map on our website for you to reference. And then the other question was, does an aggregator have to be a licensed contractor? The answer is no. An aggregator can be a contractor. They can also just be an aggregator who is submitting project paperwork on behalf of a contractor. And yeah, please continue to put questions in the chat. I will answer them as we go. So at a high level, that's how it works. Shouldn't come as any surprise to folks here who I've likely chatted to in the past or have been enrolled in the program. So all the same, we will be just chatting a little later about how the project submission process is changing. So it's going to just be through the Recurve app. So it's going to be changing a little bit and hopefully simplifying it a little bit for aggregators and making it a little more transparent for you guys moving forward. So we'll do a quick demo of that later on. Great. So some important reminders about incentive payments. I again, don't think any of this should come as a surprise to most folks who have been enrolled in the program or have chatted with me in the past, but incentives are tied to the forecasted grid benefits with performance payouts being made over a 12-month period. Basically, when your incentive is reserved, you have a forecasted amount, and 50% of that forecasted amount must be passed along to the customer. The remainder of that forecasted incentive is paid to you, the aggregator, but is not guaranteed and is based on the actual performance of the project that we measure at the customer's site or the customer's home meter. And that measurement is done over a 12-month period. To clarify, to begin receiving performance payments, the project needs to first outperform the upfront incentive, which is based on the forecast. And then, yes, as I mentioned, performance payments are made on a quarterly basis. Upfront incentive is made monthly after the project installation, and then your performance payments are quarterly thereafter. Great. Next question or next topic, sorry, is just layering incentives. This is something that April alluded to at the top. But 3C-REN's incentives are eligible for stacking or layering with other funding sources. So as with last year, Tech Clean California and 3CE, the local CCA, one of the local CCAs, is still eligible for stacking. We have some new incentive funding sources. So Santa Barbara Clean Energy is rolling out incentives. And then, of course, Hero, which I'm sure a lot of folks are aware of, is also has also been rolled out. So those are also eligible for stacking with the program. I do want to just note that, as with last year, if the combined total of these incentives exceeds the project cost, we will dynamically reduce the upfront incentive to make sure the customer is not receiving more than the project cost. So at the end of the day, their net project cost should be zero. And I do just want to call out, April mentioned at the top, we do have some breakfasts for contractors next week in Ventura, Santa Barbara, and Santa Maria to detail all of these programs and all the incentive options that are available for contractors in the Tri-County region. So we'll definitely pass along flyers for that, but really encourage you folks to join if you can make it. Great opportunity to learn more about some electrification and energy efficiency incentives that are available to you.
Reed, can I just jump in?
Yeah,
I
go for it.
just wanted to clarify the note that if the combined total of these incentives exceed project total cost, while that is true, we Tech also will be reducing their cost if the total incentives equal more than project cost. So that's kind of the more straightforward way to address this, if you would agree with that, Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah, ensuring that all of our contractors and aggregators include the pre-approved incentive amount in their tech application.
Yep. Thanks for the clarification. Great. Next slide. So just gonna cover some again some standard site and project eligibility. So no changes here from previous years. Must be a single family customer. Must be located in SLO, Santa Barbara, Ventura counties. Must receive electric distribution, natural gas services from any combination of Pacific Gas and Electric, Southern California Edison, or SoCal Gas. And site must have 12 months of energy usage as determined by the eligibility tool in our project hub, which I will again show in a little bit. So standard eligibility criteria. I do want to also clarify that CCAs, so if a customer receives electric distribution or natural gas service from a CCA, that's also eligible as well. And then project eligibility, no changes there as well. We are technology agnostic, so you can implement any solutions that achieve kilowatt hour and therm savings. So lighting, HVAC, insulation, heat pump water heaters, you name it, there's more likely not going to be eligible for participation in the program. Now, what won't be eligible is we do not allow any new natural gas equipment as primary or secondary measures. This rule was implemented last year. Heat pumps with natural gas backups is, of course, still eligible. And like I said, there's no fixed list of eligible measures. They just need to meet those above two criteria. Now, shifting gears a bit, I saw a message in the chat from Mike, the Recurve platform. So this is how you are going to submit your projects. This is how you're going to view the performance of your projects. It's how you're going to view how much you're going to get paid for those projects. If you are already enrolled as an aggregator in this program, you have received access to view Fleet Manager and Ledger this past Monday. And so, Mike, I know you posted a question in the chat. You will have received access. So just check your email for instructions. If not, happy to work with you or anyone else after to make sure you're able to get logged in and view the performance of your projects to date and how much you're expected to receive in payments. Project Hub will not be available for project submission until next Wednesday, December 11th, when the market opens. At that time, as long as you have access to the platform, which everyone here should, you will then be able to submit projects. So it's kind of just unavailable until December 11th. So shifting gears a little bit, we're going to walk through the project submission process because it is new from last year. Last year we did it via the Recurve website, and this year we're shifting to a more automated fashion where you have Project Hub, which is a dynamic tool for you to upload projects in a more simplified manner, and you have more transparency into everything. So with that, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit and stop sharing my screen for a second. Great. Okay. We are gonna open up the Recurve app. So right now we are looking at the Recurve app. Everyone here, if you were previously rolled as an aggregator, you'll have access to this. You should only see Fleet Manager and Ledger at the top. I'm in my internal testing desktop, but when you go to submit a project in the Projects tab, which we call Project Hub, you will have a record like this when you go to submit a new project. Um, and it's a six-step process to capture some important information. And then we have the project value estimator, which based on the information will calculate your incentive for you. And then you have an area to submit your documents, and then an area for enrollment. Now, I've pre-filled some information here to make this run a little more quickly, but the first step is just providing project name and then the project start and end date. So when your project is supposed to start installation and end installation. Step two is entering some more information about the customer. So all the standard stuff we collected before, customer primary language, disadvantaged community, if they're in a manufactured home, if it's an electrification project, their utility rate class, and if they're a part of a California Native American tribe. So we'll collect all the information in step two. And we do have validations for all of these. So when you submit that, we check against the information we have on file for the customers uh, using the customer's utility data as well as their address. One key thing here that I do want to just call out is for customer primary language. There's no automated check for this, but we do plan to do audits and reach out to customers to confirm this criteria in this next program year. So just want to make sure that is called out as well. Next step is entering your measures. Of course, you can enter multiple measures. I just pre-filled a heat pump water heater here. So electrification project, it's going to add electric savings to the grid. You have your estimated gas savings, the measure cost, and then if you do know any rebates that you're planning to pass along to the customer, such as tech, HERA, enter those in here. It's not a requirement to enter in here because we will also be able to verify that based on the final invoice as well. But if you know that, it's just helpful to plug that in here as well for us. Next step is just entering details about the customer. So customer name, contact phone, contact email, all standard stuff we collected previously, just doing it in a more automated format. Their address, so I put in the Santa Barbara City Hall here, city, county, state, zip code, electric and gas utility. Um, and then now that you've entered the site information, the last step is, and probably the most important step, is you will need to enter the customer's electric and or gas utility numbers, utility account numbers. So previously, you were just submitting a a copy of that invoice or a copy of those bills, sorry. On those bills, the account numbers are listed, and those just need to be entered in here. I put dummy numbers in here for now, but if I had a real number, it would run an eligibility check, and it will check based on if it's a valid meter, if it has sufficient baseline, so 12 months of history, um, if it is meets all the other criteria for the program, it will show up here. And so you'll be able to view all those options, and it'll take about 10 seconds to tell you if the meter is eligible or not. If it is eligible, you can proceed. If it's not eligible, you'll need to just investigate a little bit more as to why it's not eligible. And if there's some error for some reason, you can always reach out to our team. We're happy to help you out, help you remedy any of those issues if there are any. Now, I'm going to proceed with ineligible meters just to show you guys the rest of the platform. So once you've entered all the customer information, you then can produce your incentive calculation. And so you'd click Create New Estimate, and it would create an estimate based off the savings calculations you submitted and the scope of work of the project, as well as the customer's criteria. So if they're hard to reach or not. Based on the incentive, based on the project I input in here, a heat pump water heater, um, you can see that this project's supposed to earn around $9,000. Half of that is going to the customer, and then the other half is what I'm eligible to receive in performance payments if I were to perform at 100% realization or to exactly what the forecast is. In the project inputs and program inputs, you can see all the information you inputted, and then total estimated valuation incentives. You can see each detail as to how that incentive is calculated. And you'll notice since I did put in some hard to reach criteria, you'll see I have a gas incentive multiplier of 5x here. So we're getting that base incentive and we're multiplying it 5 times because this is a hard to reach project. Um, so just some helpful sections here. And all of these do have information boxes if you have questions on what each item is. Now we've got our incentive. Um, Everything looks good to me. I want to go ahead and submit this project for review and approval. Um, this timeline section is just an audit trail for you. You can leave comments in here for us or yourself. Then the documents section. So during this first stage, we just need the savings calculation. These other items, which are all grayed out, so project completion or pre-approval form, the invoice, and the photos of installed measures, those are all items that you'll submit after the project's been installed. As we did before, the pre-approval letter will be sent to you pre-filled with all the information you just sent, and will require customer signature and attestation to all the information being correct. So no changes there, so do expect that process to be the same. Once that's all signed, your invoice is completed and you've got photos and installed measures, you'll come back in here, upload those, and be able to submit for final enrollment. Now, since we're just looking at submitting for pre-approval, say everything looked great to me, I had valid meter numbers, I would be able to review all the information here, make sure it's all correct, view the acknowledgements and attestations, and obviously you can see because I put in an invalid meter number, it's going to fail some of the validations. But for most cases, it's going to pass everything, and then you'll be able to submit the project for approval, for pre-approval. And the pre-approval process, as with last year, we strive to turn things around within 48 hours. So you'll receive an email, one, confirming that that your project's been submitted, and then two, once it's been pre-approved. And then once it's pre-approved, you'll also receive your pre-approval letter from our team. At a high level, that is how the project submission process will work moving forward. You'll, of course, be able to also view all the projects you've submitted, including the ones you've submitted historically to our program. So when you do get access to Project Hub, you'll be able to see all the projects that you've submitted in the past and all the information you've submitted regarding them. So hopefully just providing a little bit more transparency for you guys moving forward. Great. That is my demo of Project Hub. I'm going to go real quick just back to the slide deck, and I know we are finishing up a little early so we have time for questions. But with that, if there are any questions, concerns as you are getting access to Project Hub next week and going to submit projects, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or the 3C-REN team. We'd be happy to help you walk through this information in more detail. I'm also happy to send a link to my calendar as well. And you guys are welcome to schedule time with me to walk through things in more detail. We're really happy to help here and excited to have such great participation from all of you folks. So with that, that's everything I wanted to cover today. April, any other items you'd like to add before we open it up for questions?
Yeah, thanks, Reed. Really excited to have this platform ready to, for a little bit of easier use. Did just want to stress that, this program, as you can tell by our budget, is really designed to serve our hard to reach audiences. And so I don't think we have a slide for this, but let's just remind folks who our hard to reach audiences are. So I'll try to just do this off the top of my head, and Reed, you can help me as well. So in customers will qualify as hard to reach, so they'll be eligible for those incentive multipliers if they are in Santa Barbara or Ventura County and meet one of the following criteria. They are on a discounted utility rate, so they're a care or fairer customer. They don't speak English as their primary language at home, or they are a member of a California Native tribe, or they are a mobile home customer. So that's Santa Barbara and Ventura County. In Ventura County, Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties. I hope I didn't say that wrong. Those are both for Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties. In Ventura County, our hard to reach criteria. We'll follow up with this. It includes, thank you for pulling that up, Reed. Customers need to be located in an official disadvantaged community. It's written on the screen as a DAC, and they have to meet one of the criteria that I just mentioned. Or they can also qualify for the same incentive multipliers if they simply meet two of the criteria that we mentioned. So that could be the language criteria. So let's just give an example. So if there's a customer in Ventura County that doesn't speak English as their primary language and they are on a discounted utility rate, then they would be eligible for the incentive multiplier. Okay, and we can follow up again. I know many of you have heard this before, but just because it's so core to our program, I wanted to remind us all that that is really who we seek to serve through our program.
Thanks, April. And sorry I didn't include a slide on that. Great. Well, I would love to answer some questions. I see we have some in the chat that I can start going through. If there are any others, please feel free to post them in there. I'll try to address them one by one. It looks like April has addressed everything up to stacking with Hira and Tech Clean. I'll start with Dave's question about the point of sale with a customer and how our aggregator is going to know what the rebate amount is going to be. These projects are when you are getting the incentive amount prior to installation of the project, just like last time. So you know the incentive amount prior to going and installing that project. So I think that answered your question, but if there's some more clarification needed, please let me know. Um, but yeah, we are pre-approving your incentive prior to installing a project, so you should have a scope of that project. It might not be, fully sold to the customer yet, but you should have a scope and pre-approved incentive prior to installing it. Next question from Mike Little was we are supposed to have access to monitoring data on December 6th. Yeah, everyone who was an aggregator in the program previously will have received an email regarding your access to the program on Monday. If you need us to resend that, instructions of how to access the platform, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or anyone else on the 3C-REN or Recurve teams. Mike also asked, are we able to save projects and also access the data after it is submitted? Yes, you're able to save projects and come back to complete them submitting. So if you have some pieces of information, but you just don't have the rest, yep, that draft will be saved in your project hub account, and you can come back and complete it at any time. Kristen asks, do we have the same savings calculators before? We do offer a savings calculator template on our platform on our website to help you with those savings calculations. Also, if you want to have more detailed conversations or training on how to form savings calculations, we're happy to set up time with you to do so. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you'd like some more training on how to perform savings calculations.
I'll take this one.
Yeah, go for it, April.
Yeah, Mike, your point is a good one, that the disadvantaged communities or DACs in Ventura County don't have a lot of homes. And so that's why we created this other category, so that projects in Ventura County that are serving underserved populations still can access those higher incentives. So again, your customer doesn't have to be in a DAC to access those higher incentives. They simply need to meet 2 of the criteria instead of 1. So again, that would be a language and an income, being on the discounted utility rate, or being in a mobile home. So they meet 2 of those, then they are eligible for the enhanced incentives, because we call them a priority Ventura County customer.
Thanks, April. And Dave asked, will the incentive amounts equal what they were before? Of course, higher gas usage, customers often get more incentives. So the incentives, there will be no changes in the multipliers, and there haven't been any large changes from the state in the since we closed the market in July in the avoided cost calculator, which is used for the incentive calculations. So the incentive structures should be relatively the same from what they were when the program closed for enrollments in July. So yeah, and Dave, you pointed out gas savings are do earn more incentives. So the more gas savings, the more incentives you likely will earn. This is to offset the impact of the kilowatt hours that are added to the grid by electrification projects. Great. Ali said, can we get a little further explanation on stacking incentives? I understand the rebate amount cannot be over the project total. Is the difference in cost taken from what is given to the contractor? Yeah, so the upfront payment to the customer, when stacked alongside the other incentives, cannot exceed the total project cost. So we net it out at 0. So if based on the information submitted by the contractor to our program, we see that the 3C-REN incentive stacked with tech, stacked with HERA is combined over the amount of the project cost, then we will reduce our incentive accordingly to make sure the cost is 0 for the customer. April, am I missing anything there? I know you. Okay.
Yeah. So tech will reduce the cost rather than us. So yeah, if you are not enrolling a project in Tech Clean California, then what Reed said is absolutely correct. But if your project is eligible for Tech Clean California and you still choose to submit it, even if you're getting a really high customer-facing incentive from us, then we will require that you let them know that you're participating in our program, and that will be a new program rule that we'll be clarifying shortly to all of our aggregators. And then Tech Clean California will be reducing their incentive to you. But keep in mind, you're still eligible for 100% of your performance payment when you submit a project to our program. We're just trying not to overpay for the upfront, or make sure that not too much incentive money or unnecessary incentive money is used for the upfront customer portion.
Thanks, April. And then Dennis said, how do incentives work for new construction projects? We don't offer, we do not provide incentives for new builds or new construction. This is for HVAC retrofits, heat pump water heater replacements, projects that are, electrification or energy efficiency. We do not provide new project incentives.
And just a reminder on one of the criteria for being eligible for a program, a customer does need to have 12 months of electricity and gas usage. So that would eliminate new construction as well.
Yeah. And Mike, great point there on the stacking point. I thought the upfront incentive is that does not exceed 75% of the total cost. That's true for 3C-REN's incentive. But when it's stacked alongside, what we're saying is when it's stacked along the other eligible or the other layerable incentives, that can potentially exceed 100% of the project cost. So our incentives, yes, are for upfront incentives are capped at 75% of the project cost. Are there any other questions? Can you explain the changes with solar panel installs? I don't think we've had any changes in our rules to solar panel installs. We do not, one of the eligibility criteria around solar is that having solar installed on the home, even the previous 12 months to project completion, is not a cause for ineligibility in the program. However, homes that do have solar installed in the year prior, or the year following project installation, will cause that project to be unmeasurable. So what we'd say disqualified doesn't mean it's disqualified from the program. It would just mean that we can't measure performance on it. And so what would happen for those projects is it would be assigned savings. And so it's not being measured the performance isn't being measured, and it's instead getting an assigned value for those savings based on the average savings of all the other qualified meters in your portfolio. So with solar, it's not a cause for the project not to be enrolled in the program. However, we can't measure the performance on that. So just an important thing to clarify. And we do have that in our program manual in more detail. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out there. Zev asked when may we begin submitting projects for pre-approval. Next Wednesday, December 11th, the program reopens for enrollments. So starting then, you'll have access to then enroll projects in Project Hub for new projects. Any other questions? I'm happy to stick around, and if anyone has any other questions, and keep chatting through things. Great. Otherwise, I think we can end 5 minutes early. Thank you all so much for your time, and thank you all for your dedication and participation in our 3C-REN Home Energy Savings Program. Very excited for this upcoming year. And of course, my name is Reed again. I'm the primary contact for Recurve, who implements the market with 3C-REN. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Any 3C-REN larger, more specific or larger 3C-REN questions, feel free to reach out to April, but we are here to help and excited to have you all for the 2025 program year. April, anything to add?
Letting any last questions come in?
Yeah. Great. I know we'll probably follow up with this recording after and as well as the slides. So if there are any questions that come up today or next week or in the coming weeks, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Okay, and come to our incentive breakfast or lunch next week. That information will be in the follow-up as well. We'd love to have you buy breakfast and lunch and talk about specifically how all local, regional, state incentives can be stacked for maximum savings. And with that, have a lovely Friday, everyone. Thanks, Reed.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.